Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wheresoever you're watching this video. A very nice day to you all. And I'm going to start off with electrostatics 9. In the previous classes, we have done about electrostatic force and electric field, and we were stressing on Coulomb's law. But there were certain limitations of Coulomb's law. The very first limitation was that it was only applicable to point charges. Whenever the case of uh, a number of charges together, like linear charge distribution, surface charge distribution, or volume charge distribution was there, we were unable to solve it easily. So the next option for it is that we have Gauss theorem. We're going to deal with Gauss theorem. Gauss law or Gauss theorem. Gauss's law or Gauss theorem. It is one and the same thing. But before actually started off with Gauss law, let me revise few things which you might have done previously. Very first thing is, what is steradian? What is solid angle? Solid angle. Solid angle is defined as solid angle. Solid angle, you must have done it in class 11. Solid angle. The SI unit is steradian. Steradian, and the symbol is d omega. What is d omega? Delta S by R square. Just to remind you one more thing, in case you have a sphere and you are trying at the center, this is the center of the sphere, and this is the area which is you carved out, and because of this angle which is subtended at the center is d omega. So what is this solid angle? Solid angle is the angle subtended at the center of the sphere due to a surface of surface area d delta S. So the solid angle is the angle subtended at the center of a sphere by a surface delta S. This is applicable to all solid objects. Like in case I have an irregular surface also, and I'm considering a small surface area over here, ds or delta S, and this angle which we are subtending over here, this becomes d omega. Then what is this d omega? D omega is equal to ds, and this is, let's say, the r, the radius, so it becomes r square. Same thing is over here. What is 1 steradian? 1 steradian, 1 SR if I call it, short form steradian. It is equal to the, in case the area, if delta S is equal to R square, then this becomes R square by R square and becomes 1 steradian. So 1 steradian is the angle subtended at the center of the sphere if the surface area is 1 R square. So let me reframe it. 1 steradian is the angle subtended at the center of the sphere by a surface equal to square of the radius. This is what you've done in class 11. So I was just telling about solid angle. One more thing I would like to remind you. Electric flux. Electric flux. Electric flux. Electric flux means number of electric lines of force, passing through a surface normally, passing through a surface normally. What does it mean? It means, suppose electric lines of force are like this. Electric lines of force are like this. They are parallel, showing uniform electric field. And I keep a surface, some surface like this. I keep a surface like this. This is surface S. And if I take a small portion over here at this point, the angle, always the surface is a vector quantity, and it has a direction normal to the surface. Like if I am drawing a surface like this, the direction of the surface is this. If I am drawing a surface like this, the direction of surface is like this. So in this case, the surface direction is like this. This is the surface direction. So it is making an angle theta with the surface. Here, electric field is making angle theta with the surface. So here, electric flux symbol is phi E is equal to E dot S. Right? E dot S. If I am calling it as area, E dot A, E dot S, anything you can say. If I call it as A, E dot A, S or A1. Both of them, they are vector quantities. Now, what does it mean physically? Suppose light is coming from this direction like this, and I keep a surface over here like this. It will be blocking the entire light. But if I keep the surface little slanting like this, it will not be blocking light. It will be blocking light little less. In case I keep it like this, no blockage. Another way, if electric lines of force are passing like this, if I keep this straight like this, that means the electric field and the surface making an angle of 0 degree with each other, then electric flux is equal to 0. If I keep it in this direction, that means the surface is having an angle 90 degree like this. This is the direction of the surface. Electric field lines are coming like this. Both of them are parallel. But the angle between the surface area and the electric field line is 90 degree here. So none of the electric lines of force, they are passing through the surface. So what I mean to say is electric flux is given by the formula E dot S or E dot A, which is equal to magnitude of E, magnitude of A, cos of theta. If theta is equal to 0 degree, then maximum electric flux, because theta 0 means cos 0 is equal to 1. In case theta is 90 degree, then cos 90 becomes 0. Electric flux will be 0. So what is electric flux? Number of electric lines of force passing through a surface normally. Let me draw a few more diagrams so that it becomes more clear to you. Suppose I am taking case 1. Case 1 is electric, this surface is exactly like this and electric lines of force are passing like this. So here the direction of the surface, this is A or S, anything you can say, the direction is like this. Electric field is also having an angle like this. So theta is equal to 0 degree. So electric flux is equal to E A cos 0 degree. That means EA, this is maximum value. In case I have electric field lines like this, but my surface is like this. So what is the direction of surface? The surface is having a direction like this. This is the surface area I am having. Electric field is having a direction like this. So angle is 90 degree. As a result of it, theta is 90 degree. Electric flux phi E is equal to E A cos 90, which becomes 0. So this is the minimum flux I am having. Minimum flux. In case it is aligned at any angle, like electric field is like this and my surface is slanting like this. So this is making an angle theta like this. Theta with the electric field. This is electric field, this is surface area. So they are making an angle of theta with it. So it becomes phi E is equal to EA cos of any angle theta. Theta is this angle between the two. It can be any value accordingly. Okay. So electric flux is number of electric lines of force passing through a surface normally. As you can see, it is a dot product of two vector quantities. Dot product is a scalar product. So finally, electric flux will also be a scalar quantity. Now let's come to its SI unit. What will be its SI unit? In the previous class, we have discussed about the electric field SI unit. Electric field SI, this is E into A. Electric field SI unit is Newton per Coulomb. And for area, you know it is equal to meter square. So SI unit becomes Newton meter square per Coulomb. What about the dimensional formula? For Newton, if you remember, this is the force, SI unit of force. The dimensional formula is mLT minus 2. and for m it is L square. For Coulomb it is A minus 1 T minus 1 because it is Coulomb inverse, so it is A minus 1 T minus 1. Coulomb SI unit is AT, but I have taken inverse of it, so A minus 1 T minus 1. We combine all this, it becomes ML cube T minus 3 A minus 1. So this becomes the dimensional formula of electric flux. So three things I have told you just now. Electric flux is number of electric lines of force passing through a surface normally. Second thing, electric flux mathematically can be written as E dot A, which is magnitude of E, magnitude of A, cos of theta, where theta is the angle between the surface area and the electric field. Mind you, surface area has a direction normal to it always. The direction of a surface is a vector quantity and the direction is given by normal drawn to it. Second thing, it will be maximum in case theta is equal to 0 degree and will be minimum at theta equal to 90 degree. SI unit is nm square c minus 1 and dimensional formula I am breaking up this becomes mlt minus 2, this becomes L square, this becomes A minus t minus 1, so it becomes ml cube t minus 3 A minus 1. This becomes the dimensional formula for electric flux. Okay. Now we come to the actual thing, Gauss. One more thing, I just missed one. This phi e, this is phi e, can also be written in this form, integration of E dot ds. It can also be written like this if I take the integration form. Okay, basically it is integration of d e ds. So either electric field can be changing or this can be changing. Most commonly used thing is this, that's why I've written. Otherwise it is EDS, because differentiation of EDS and integration, that means this phi again same thing. Okay, so I just made a mistake. Phi ES, where S is the area. In differentiation of EDA, so I can write like this also, EDS plus, let's make it a different thing, EDS plus SDE, this way we can also write. Okay, so we'll be using this thing most of the times, but you should remember that phi e can also be written in form of integration also. I come to the next topic now. Now I am coming to the actual statement of Gauss law. Gauss law. Let me just explain and then I'll write on the definition. Suppose I take a charge Q, and it is enclosed in a particular surface, Then out of this, electric lines of force will be coming out of it. This is a positive charge, so electric lines of force will be coming out of it like this. This electric lines of force coming out. That means this surface will be having electric flux around it. I have taken a small charge Q and around it we have imagined a surface, and since I am saying this charge is positive, electric lines of force will be coming out of it, and certain electric lines of force are passing, these electric lines of force are also passing through this surface. According to this Gauss theorem, the number of electric lines of force passing through this closed surface or electric flux coming out of the closed surface enclosing this charge is equal to Q times Q divided by epsilon naught. What does it mean? The total electric lines of force coming out of the surface means electric flux. Electric flux coming out of a closed surface enclosing a charge is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the charge enclosed. This is what it is. I repeat, this is a charge Q, let's say it's a positive charge, electric lines of force are coming out of it, it is enclosed in a closed surface, so electric lines of force are coming out of it. I can say in another words, electric flux is coming out of this. So this electric flux is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So this phi E is what? This phi E is electric flux coming out of a closed surface, E dot ds. That's why I'm writing integration of closed surface. This round means closed surface. E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon naught. Now let's write on the statement. It states that electric flux coming out of a closed surface in vacuum is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times the charge enclosed. This is what the statement, where epsilon naught is permittivity of free space. We have discussed this thing before also. Permittivity of free space, and what is its value? 8.854 into 10 raised to minus 12. Unit is Newton inverse, meter inverse square, and Coulomb square. This we have done before also. I am just repeating this thing. So Coulomb's law states that electric flux coming out of a closed surface in vacuum is mentioned once, enclosing a charge in vacuum. Enclosing a charge in vacuum. In vacuum is equal to 1 by epsilon times the charge enclosed. Okay, enclosed. It states that electric flux coming out of a closed surface enclosing a charge in vacuum is equal to 1 by epsilon times the charge enclosed, where epsilon naught is permittivity of free space. That's why I mentioned vacuum, okay, of free space, and its value is 8.854 into 10 raised to minus 12. Three things we have to consider over here, that in this case the charge enclosed, the surface should always be a closed surface. It should be enclosing a charge. I cannot take an open surface, I have to take a closed surface. Second thing is that this charge can be anywhere. It can be here, it can be here, it can be here. The charge should be enclosed inside it. Okay, that's why I am having a closed integration. Alright, is it clear? And hence it can be applicable to point charges also, uniform charge distribution also, a number of charges kept together also. Like if I had kept 10 charges over here, then I would have taken the algebraic sum of it. In case I had taken a uniform volume distribution charge, so the total charge of that I could have taken over here, which was not possible in case of Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law was only possible for point charges, but here all types of charges we can take: volume charge distribution, linear charge distribution, surface charge distribution. We can take all types of charges. Okay, is it clear? This was the statement. Let's come to the proof of Gauss theorem. Proof of Gauss theorem. First proof I am taking, considering a regular surface. Regular surface means something like a sphere. Proof of Gauss's law using regular surface. Regular means whose area I know, whose formula is known to me. Regular surface. Okay. What do I have to prove? I have to prove that, to prove integration of E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon naught. Okay. So here I consider, proof is like this: consider a charge q, electric field at point P, which is at a distance r from it, is given by E bar 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square r unit vector. It means like this: if I have a charge over here, this is plus q, and I have to find out the electric field at this point P. I can draw it like this. This is the direction r unit vector, because I have to find the electric field on P because of this charge. So, and what I do is now I draw a Gaussian surface of radius r around this charge q, such that this P point is on its surface. Okay, so we draw a Gaussian surface. Gaussian surface, it is an imaginary surface. Gaussian surface of radius r around q, such that P is on its surface. Let me just draw it a bit smaller so that I can write more over here. Okay, now this was the r over here. This is the unit vector r, otherwise the radius of this is r. Okay, now I am considering a small surface like this. This surface is ds, and this surface will be having a direction in this direction. The surface will be having a direction like this. So this small surface we are considering, and I find that the electric field is also in the same direction. What I am trying to mention over here, let us consider a small surface. Let us consider a small surface ds bar, which is equal to magnitude of ds into unit vector r. Okay, around P. Now I find that this electric field is parallel to ds vector. Now from here, if I take the left hand side, this left hand side is equal to integration of E dot ds. Now this can be written as integration of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square unit vector dot n unit vector ds only magnitude. So here r and n, both of them, they are in the same direction. R is also in the same direction, n is also in the same direction. So r dot n becomes 1. R and n are unit vectors. Their resultant becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught comes out, q comes out, r square also comes out, and this becomes integration of unit vector r, n cos of 0 degree ds only. Okay, out of this whole thing becomes 1. This is unit vector 1, 1. This also becomes 1. This also becomes 1. I am left with q by 4 pi epsilon naught r square integration of ds. What is integration of ds? This is small surface area ds. If I take the whole integration of ds, it is equal to 4 pi r square. Why I am writing 4 pi square? It looks like a circle, but what is it? It is sphere. What is the surface area of a sphere? 4 pi r square. So this ds is nothing but 4 pi r square. As a result of it, the final answer becomes q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. This r square. This is also 4 pi epsilon naught r square, 4 pi r square, and this becomes just q by epsilon. I'll just write it at the top, somewhere here. So this left hand side, which I was talking about, it is equal to integration of E dot ds, and is coming out to be, I've just solved, q by 4 pi epsilon naught r square into 4 pi r square, which is equal to q by epsilon. This is equal to right hand side, hence it is proved. Okay, here I have used a regular surface which is a spherical surface. Now I come to the next proof. Here I am using Gauss theorem only, proof of Gauss theorem only we are doing, but using an irregular surface. Proof of Gauss theorem using irregular surface. Again, I consider a charge point plus q charge, and I do not consider a regular surface around it. I consider point P over here where I have to find out the electric field, and I consider an irregular surface around it. That means it is not a sphere, it is some, yeah, looks like an amoeba, something like that only. It is an irregular surface, but it is a closed surface, mind you. And let's say this point is O and this point is P. I have to find out the electric field, let's say at point P. I have to prove it. So in case I want to find out the electric field, and I consider this is R1, this is R1 vector. So this direction will be from Q, from this O point to P, and this will be the value of my electric field over here. So what is the value of electric field, can you think of? It will be equal to E1 equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R1 square, R1 unit vector. The direction of the R1 unit vector will be there. In case I have to find out the electric field at this point, let's say this is some second point, and this is R2 if I am talking about, and the direction is this. If P point comes over here, it is like this. It is called as P2. So here if I have to find out the electric field, this electric field will be now E2 over here, around this direction, E2. So if I am talking about E2, what will be the value of E2? E2 will be equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R2 square, R2 unit vector. Why it is happening like this? This is an irregular surface. All points on the surface, they are at different distances. Since they are at different distances, the value, the magnitude and direction of electric field will be different at different points over here. Again, if I take an nth point over here, let's say this is Rn, this is Pn point, let's say, and I have to find out the electric field. The electric field direction will be like this, because it's a positive charge. Electric field lines are coming out of it uniformly in all directions. But the distance at which I have to find out the electric field is changing again and again. So electric field is again changing and again at different points. So En is also something different. En is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by Rn square unit vector Rn. So this process going on and on. Fine. Now I have to prove what? This is what I have explained about this. This point P is over here, and I have to find out, I have to prove Gauss theorem, but now I have taken an irregular surface. Irregular surface means the distance of this charge from the surface will be different at different points, and we have to take this general case to prove the Gauss theorem. What I have to prove? To prove is this only. To prove integration of E dot ds is equal to Q by epsilon. Now let's take the left hand side. You have to consider a few things over here. Left hand side. Left hand side is equal to integration of E dot ds. Integration of E dot ds. In this case, I just open up this thing and I write it is equal to E1 dot ds1. What is this I am doing over here? If I take this surface over here, this surface over here, at this surface, if I am trying to calculate this thing, this point, this surface, I take this surface around P, let's say this surface I am taking, and I take a very close point over here, R2. Let me just redraw it again, this portion. This was my point P. At this point P, I consider a small surface which is ds1 vector. This ds1 vector is nothing but ds1 vector is equal to unit vector in this direction n, because surface area always has a direction normal to it, into ds unit vector, ds1 unit vector, this figures. Okay, let me call it as n1 for our convenience. Now this point, this was arch plus q, this was at a distance r from here, but intentionally I'll take like this. This is r1, like r1. Very close to each other, so they're approximately r1 only. And let's say this enclosing a small angle, solid angle which we have discussed, d omega 1 over here. Similarly, if I take the point E2 over here, I again consider a surface over here, and it is also enclosing a particular angle. I'm just imagining it, let's say E omega 2e or something like this over here. I've drawn them a bit far off just to show you. So this is, let's say, this is surface area ds2. Same thing applies over here. So here electric field direction is over here, the direction of electric field, and ds2 is same. Fine. Anywhere I find, यहाँ पर I take dsn, here dsn, the angle of dsn is like this, electric field is also in the same direction. Again I take these 2 points rn and rn over here. So what I want to say is, at every point a certain surface area is enclosing a solid angle, like this is ds, this is d omega, and these are the 2 r's. I hope you have understood this part. Now I am removing this closed integration now, and instead of this closed integration I am writing E1 ds1 plus E2 dot ds2 so on till En dsn. I am considering each and every part of it. So all these things which we are considering over here, they have been taken care of. So this becomes E1 like this only. E1 can be written as, yes, E1 can be written as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q r1 square r1 unit vector dot n1 unit vector ds only magnitude plus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided by r2 square r2 unit vector dot n2 unit vector ds2 so on, and becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q rn square rn unit vector dot nn unit vector dsn, and so on. Out of this, what is common? The common thing over here is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q divided q only. This much is common. R dot n is 1 unit vectors product, and the angle between them is 0 degrees, so cos theta is also 1. All here R1 is parallel to N1, R2 is parallel to N2, all these portions they will become 1. So I'll just mention that it becomes now ds1 divided by R1 square, ds2 divided by R2 square, so on till dsn divided by Rn square. क्या क्या 1 हो गया? ये R1 N1 cos 0, R2 N2 दोनों unit vectors values 1 into cos 0, it becomes 1. So this thing comes in. Now this is equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon. Now what is this? The first topic we discussed, solid angle. So ds1 r1 is basically this d omega 1, the solid angle subtended over here. So this becomes d omega 1, this becomes d omega 2, so on till d omega n. If I add up all these angles, what is it equal to? It is equal to 4 pi. So it becomes q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 4 pi, which is equal to q by epsilon naught, which is nothing but the right hand side. Hence, I have proved it according to irregular surface also, if you are considering it irregular surface. Right? Okay. Now we come to the next topic. Now this way we have proved Gauss theorem twice. Now we're doing applications of Gauss theorem. We have to apply it. This is a common thing, like if you go to some predictor, some astrologer, and it is very difficult to believe easily. Many people, like person like me, will not believe of astrologer easily. But if he tells you something which has already happened in the past and that is correct, then your belief increases in that person. Start believing that person. Same thing we will be doing in this case. Gauss theorem we will be using, first application. We will try to prove Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem. It's just the opposite. Till now we were using Coulomb's law. We were taking the knowledge of Coulomb's law and we were trying to prove Gauss theorem. But now I'm going to do vice versa. I'm trying to prove Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem. So very first application, if this is valid, then I'll be applying it to everywhere else. So first application I'm saying, application to prove Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem. Till now we were assuming that Coulomb's law was correct and we were using that data to prove Gauss theorem. Now I'm going to do the opposite. That means I have to prove force is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. Okay. So now in this case what I do is I take a charge Q1. Let's say it is at point O. It is at point O, and I have to find out the electric field at point P. I'll be finding out the electric field now using the Gauss theorem. So I draw an imaginary surface called as the Gaussian surface as a sphere. Okay. So since we have to find out electric field, we have to find electric field at P. So due to charge Q1, we draw a Gaussian surface as a sphere of radius R such that OP is equal to R. Let me repeat this thing. What we are doing. I have to prove Coulomb's law using Gauss theorem. That means I have to prove this thing. I have considered this charge Q1 over here, and let me consider this charge Q2 at this point. I am considering Q2 charge at point P. So what I'll do is I'll try to find out the electric field at point P first, and then I'll use F is equal to QE, and I'll find out the Coulomb's law from here. So very first thing, I'm considering this point P over here. In order to apply Gauss theorem, I'm imagining a Gaussian surface around it, and let's say I take a small surface over here like this. This surface is ds. This is ds vector. The direction of ds is like this, unit vector pointing in this direction. And electric field, if I'm saying due to charge Q1, it will also be in the same direction. Why it is in the same direction? It is in the same direction because this is a positive charge. From a positive charge, electric lines of force are coming out of it. These two things, they become known to us. Electric field will be in this direction, and the direction of electric field on 2 because of 1. So electric field at 2, electric field uh, on 2 because of 1, I'll say, at P because of 1, anything you can write. Electric field is equal to, electric field is equal to 1 by, I'll just write, integration of E dot ds is equal to q1 by epsilon naught. This in general electric field I am considering. Let me just call it as electric field because of 1. Let me call it like this. Let me just leave it for the time being. Let me call it as E dot ds only. E dot ds is equal to q1 by epsilon naught. Now here I'll just write the magnitude of E like this. Unit vector r, because it will be along this direction, r like this, dot, this is a unit vector n like this, ds like this, magnitude is equal to q1 by epsilon naught. Here E magnitude, unit vector r magnitude, unit vector n magnitude, cos of 0 degree because angle between them is 0 degree, ds is equal to q1 by epsilon naught. Here E as it is, this becomes 1, this becomes 1, this becomes 1, this is ds like this only, q1 by epsilon naught. So everything comes out, E comes out over here, magnitude of E comes out, integration of ds is equal to q1 by epsilon. Now what is integration of ds? We have considered surface as a Gaussian surface as a sphere. This ds is the area of the Gaussian surface. What Gaussian surface? This Gaussian surface. What is it? Sphere. So I'll use the formula for sphere over here. 4 pi r square is equal to q1 by epsilon naught. This becomes E is equal to q1 by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. This is my electric field at point P. But what I have to find out? I have to find out the electrostatic force. So, electrostatic force, if I want to calculate force on 2 because of 1, it is equal to charge q2 into the first electric field. That means it is equal to q1 q2 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Okay, and the direction remains same. If you want to mention the direction remains same, r unit vector. Okay, r unit vector. I quickly repeat, using Gauss theorem, integration of E dot ds is equal to q1 by epsilon naught. We have done the preparation over here. This is a positive charge, so electric lines of force are coming out of it. This is the direction of electric field. ds, I have taken a small area around P. This P will, this area ds has a direction coming out. That means direction of electric field and direction of surface area, it is one and the same thing if they are making an angle of 0 degree with each other. So when I apply Gauss theorem, here we are applying Gauss theorem over here, this Gauss theorem, applying Gauss theorem, Gauss's theorem, Gauss's law. We have integration E dot E is equal to q1 by epsilon naught. I use the values over here, magnitude of E unit vector r, then ds can be written as unit vector n into ds is equal to q by epsilon naught. Here r is a unit vector, n is also unit vector, the angle between them is 0 degree, this is what it is written. Then magnitude of r is 1, magnitude of n is 1, cos 0 is 1. Then E ds, E comes out, integration of ds, the integration of ds is 4 pi r square because it's a sphere, and this is becomes an electric field using Gauss theorem, and this becomes my electrostatic force on the charge 2 because of 1. Okay. Second application now. Second application of Gauss theorem. Second application. To find electric field due to linear distribution, linear charge distribution. Two people say thin charge wire, thin charge wire. Now, let's say this is my thin charge wire, thin charge wire. I have to find out the electric field due to this thin charge wire. This is a thin charge wire. This is uniformly charged. The charge on it is Q. So linear charge density becomes Q is equal, lambda is equal to Q by L. This is the length, Q by L. Now I have to find out the electric field using Gauss theorem, because Coulomb's law will not give me the exact answer. I have to leave my answer somewhere in between, as we have done before also. For this, I draw a Gaussian surface. How do I draw a Gaussian surface first of all? If I consider this as this as a positive charge, a linear straight line like this, a straight line like this, which is charge. So out of this, electric lines of force will be coming like this. And few are like this, if you are going into it. So this sort of if I just think of an envelope around it, it will be coming out as a cylinder. It will be coming out like a cylinder. Can you imagine this thing? So out of this, electric lines of force are coming, and you can imagine a cylinder over here. Okay? And very few or negligible electric lines of force will come out from these circular caps. Negligible amount of electric lines of force will come out of this circular cap. Okay, just imagine that you have a tube light and or this linear charge, linear source of light, and in case you have an envelope around it and which is cylindrical in shape, most of the light will be coming out of its curved surface and negligible from its corners. Corners means from the circular caps. Same thing is coming over here. Most of the electric lines of force, they are coming from the linear surface area, from the curved surface area, and negligible amount of electric lines of force, they are coming out from this circular caps. Okay, so what is a Gaussian surface? Gaussian surface is the whole thing, but the one which is contributing towards the electric flux is only the curved surface. I take a small surface over here, let's say, in general I take a small surface over here. This is ds, and the direction of ds is like this. The direction of electric field lines, electric field is also in the same direction, so unit vector r is also like this. Both of them, they are like this. So using Gauss theorem, integration of E dot ds is equal to Q by epsilon. But instead of Q here, I'll write lambda into L, because from here Q is equal to lambda into L. The total charge on it is L, and let's say the length is equal to L, so I'll take it as lambda into L by epsilon. Integration of E dot ds. Now let's write what we have discussed few minutes back. Integration of E dot ds will contribute towards the three surface area. What are the three surface areas which we have? First is the curved surface area. Second is the circular caps. First circular cap and then the second circular cap. So we can just mention that electric lines of force are not passing, lines of force are not passing through the two circular caps. So only and are only passing through curved surface area. Okay. As a result of it, integration of E dot ds, this becomes just what? E, magnitude of E, unit vector R, ds, no, unit vector N, ds, magnitude, integration, lambda L by epsilon naught. Now here, what is ds? I said electric lines of force are passing through only the curved surface area and not anywhere else. So this r unit vector, n unit vector, they get multiplied, it becomes cos 0 r, and both of them are in the same direction, and I'm left with, I'll just write over here, q is equal to lambda by L, and lambda is equal to q, okay. Lambda is equal to q by L, and q is equal to lambda L. Just write over here. This makes E comes out magnitude, integration of r unit vector is 1, n unit vector की magnitude 1, r n cos 0 degree ds is equal to lambda L by epsilon naught. E has come out, integration of ds is equal to lambda L by epsilon naught. This makes E 2 pi r L. Why 2 pi r L? R is the radius, L is the length, and this is the 2 pi r L is the curved surface area of the cylinder. So it becomes lambda L by epsilon naught. That means E is equal to lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught, lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught r. This becomes electric field. दोबारा रिवाइज करते हैं. We have to find out the electric field because of linear charge distribution or charge wire. So what we do is, very first thing, we draw a Gaussian surface. What sort of Gaussian surface? This is a cylindrical Gaussian surface. Cylindrical Gaussian surface. So the cylindrical Gaussian surface. This cylindrical Gaussian surface I have taken because according to me, in order to wrap a particular line, source, the best option is a Gaussian surface which is cylindrical in shape. I have drawn this cylindrical shape Gaussian surface, but one more thing I find over here, electric lines of force are only passing through its curved surface area and not through its circular caps. So while I am finding out the net electric flux, I have to consider this thing. So I apply Gauss theorem. It becomes integration of E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon naught. Since I am taking a linear charge distribution, lambda is equal to q by L. So q is equal to lambda L over here. So integration of E dot ds becomes lambda L by epsilon naught. I have mentioned that I am going to consider only the curved surface area and not the circular caps. So integration of E dot r, I have just broken up this, E unit vector r dot n unit vector ds lambda L. The value of r and n is 1 each over here because their unit vector cos 0 is also 1, is equal to lambda L by epsilon naught. Integration of ds. Which ds I am going to consider only here? Curved surface. That means 2 pi rl. So here E becomes lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught r. Okay? Now one more thing they ask in derivation. They ask you, plot a graph between E and R. Plot a graph between E and R. What will be the plot? Because many a times they have asked this also. ग्राफ पूछ रहे हैं किस किस में, E और R के बीच में. So E is R. You can see E is inversely proportional to R. So what sort of graph I am getting to look at a graph like this? Asymptotic graph like this. Okay? This sort of graph I am going to get. Now I come to the next application. Next application is electric field. Third application, electric field due to charged, thin charge plate. First of all, thin charged plates. Here I'm going to consider a charge plate like this, and I have to find out the electric field due to this charge plate. Let me consider that this charge plate is positively charged. This charge plate is positively charged. If this charge plate is positively charged, electric lines of force will be coming in all directions. Now think of a wrapping material for this. The wrapping material which we can think of is a cuboid, and or a cylinder, cylinder like this. Let's make a smaller one. Cylinder like this. In this case, electric lines of force, they will be coming only from the circular caps and not from the curved surface area. It is just opposite to what we have done in the previous one, case of linear charge distribution. Here I have a charge plate, the charge on it is Q. It will be having a surface charge density, sigma is equal to Q by L, or I can say Q is equal to Q sigma by A. So Q is equal to sigma A. Here what is sigma? Sigma is the surface charge density. We have discussed this thing before. Surface charge density. Now in case I am thinking of it, and we are taking care of it we are taking the Gaussian surface as a cylinder, Gaussian surface, then I find that only the circular caps, they are contributing towards the electric flux. Why? Because electric lines of force are passing through only and only the circular caps and not through the curved surface area. So here when we be applying Gauss theorem, we have to take care of this only. Now using Gauss theorem, integration of E dot ds is equal to Q by epsilon naught. This makes integration of E dot ds is equal to sigma A by epsilon naught. I'll just mention only circular caps of area A each are contributing to इलेक्ट्रिक फ्लक्स. ऐसा क्यों लिखा? क्योंकि only electric flux is because of the circular caps. Electric lines of force are coming only out of those circular caps. That means integration of E. Okay, if I take a small surface over here like this, the direction, this is ds, let's say, the direction of ds will be the same. I'll draw like this. The direction of ds is also in the same direction. So ds vector is equal to unit vector n magnitude of ds, and you can see if I take a small surface over here, its direction is this. If I had taken a surface area over here, surface area I would have taken, but there is no electric field over here. There is no electric field in this direction. In this direction you have electric field also, and you have surface area also. So here E ds cos of 0 would have been there. If I would have taken over here cos 90, you can take it any way you like. Like you can write like this also, or you can separate it to two parts, and then you can also say that is one and the same thing. So integration of E ds becomes E r unit vector dot n unit vector ds magnitude sigma A by epsilon naught. Only circular caps, two circular caps. I just mentioned two circular caps. Integration of this E, it becomes E only. Then this is r unit vector, which becomes 1 n unit vector 1 cos of 0 degree ds is equal to sigma A by epsilon naught. This makes E cos of 0, okay, this is 1 1 1 ds sigma A by epsilon. This makes E integration of ds is 2A is equal to sigma A by epsilon naught, or I can say E is equal to A gets cancelled, sigma by 2 epsilon naught. Mind you, it is for thin charge plate. In case it is thick charge plate, then the charge density becomes double. It is just like if you have a very thin sheet of paper, whatsoever charge you have one side, the same charge will come on the other side also. But if you have thick sheet, then both sides separately will get charged, so the charge density becomes double. So in case of thick charge sheet, thick, it becomes E is equal to sigma by epsilon. This is only mentioned for thin charge sheet. Is it clear? Let's do one more application. The fourth application is the last application in the NCR, in the CBSE syllabus. Fourth application. Electric field due to charged shell, shell like this. It will have three cases. I'll just mention the three cases. First case, okay, need to maintain detail. Second and third. Case 1. When electric field is to be found outside the shell. Okay, so this is my shell. Always remember, whether you take a shell of conducting material or a non-conducting material, the charge will reside only on its surface. This is the main thing you should remember. So this is a charged shell. Let's say the total charge on it is Q. So it will have surface charge density only. Sigma is equal to Q by A, where A is nothing but the surface area. That means Q divided by 4 pi r square. 4 pi r square is the, charge always resides on the surface. Now, in case I take a point P over here, I have to draw a Gaussian circle. Let me draw a bit smaller. This is my shell, positively charged. So this point P is over here. So I have to draw a Gaussian surface around it like this. That too is a sphere, because this charged shell can be only enclosed in another Gaussian surface which is spherical in shape. So this is my Gaussian, this dotted surface is Gaussian surface. This, let's say, the charged shell which I am considering, it is of radius r, and this point P is at a distance of, let's say this is r, capital R, and this point P is at a distance of small. Now, so I just change this thing, r square. This spherical shell is of radius, capital R. It has a charge Q, so surface charge density is Q divided by 4 pi r square. Then you have point P, which is at a distance small r from it. So we apply Gauss theorem again. Integration of E dot ds is equal to Q by epsilon naught. This makes integration of E ds becomes magnitude of E, magnitude of ds, and the direction is what? R unit vector, ds unit vector, and ds is equal to, it becomes sigma into 4 pi capital R square divided by epsilon naught. Now what is electric field from here? This is positively charged. So if I take this point P, electric field will be coming out like this. Again I am considering a small part ds along P point. This is ds. So this becomes integration of E R unit vector n unit vector cos of 0 degree ds sigma 4 pi capital R square divided by epsilon naught. Here r n cos 0 becomes 1, E comes out, integration of ds. Mind you, it's a Gaussian surface. The spherical shell was having radius r, but the Gaussian surface is having radius small r. So E integration of ds is equal to sigma 4 pi r square divided by epsilon naught. E, this becomes 4 pi small r square sigma 4 pi capital R square divided by epsilon. 4 pi cancels, and finally the answer is E is equal to sigma R square capital R square divided by small r square epsilon naught. This becomes the electric field found outside the shell. Outside the shell. Okay. I quickly repeat what we have done. We have taken a spherical shell. The spherical shell was of radius. The spherical shell was of radius capital R. This is a spherical shell whose radius is capital R. In case of spherical shell, the charge always resides outside the surface. I have taken a point P at which I have to find out the electric field. So I draw a Gaussian surface around it. Let's say this point P is at a distance small r from the center. Now I take a small surface area. This ds will be having a direction coming outwards. Electric field is also having the direction coming outwards. So integration of E dot ds is equal to q by epsilon naught. E and ds, both of them are in the same direction. So unit vector of r and n I am showing, they are making an angle of 0 degree with each other. E comes out, magnitude of E, integration of ds. ds is the Gaussian surface area. This is the only thing which you have to think over here. Here Gaussian surface area, radius is small r. So it becomes 4 pi r square. This becomes the value, and on calculating we get this as the answer. Okay. Now, when it comes to case 2, when electric field is to be found on the surface, on the shell, then what all changes will take place? In case I have to find out the electric field on the shell, then what all changes will take place? Here, the shell is over here, whose radius is small r, whose radius is capital R, and the Gaussian, this point P is over here. So Gaussian surface is coinciding with this spherical shell. So small r is also one and the same thing. As a result of it, when I am writing this area, everything will remain same. But here at the end, I'll write r is equal to capital R. This becomes E is equal to sigma by epsilon. This is the only change. Everything goes same. Only thing which comes over here, r and r, both of them are same. Small r and capital R are same. So they will just cancel with each other. Fine. Now case 3. Case 3 is very simple. What you have to say is that in case the electric field is to be found inside the shell. Case 3. Electric field inside the shell. In this case, suppose this is a shell whose radius is capital R, and I have to find out the electric field at this point P, and this is R. Is there any, okay, I draw a Gaussian surface over here. This Gaussian surface is not at all enclosing any charge. Since this Gaussian surface is not at all enclosing charge, according to Gauss theorem, integration of E dot ds is equal to 0. E dot ds is equal to 0 because no charge is enclosed. Since no charge is enclosed, such a surface is not enclosing any charge, so no electric field. Hence, electric field is also 0. Remember this thing, in case of any spherical shell, inside any spherical shell, charge is 0, so electric field is 0. The same thing is applicable to solid conductors also. In case of a solid conductor, the charge resides on the surface only. As a result of it, no charge resides inside the surface. Since no charge resides inside the surface, electric field inside it is equal to 0. A very unique application or very unique use is that in case of a thunder and lightning, it is better to be inside a metallic vehicle, inside the car, inside any shell-like thing. So in case it's thunder and lightning, it is safe to be inside a car than to be outside, because in case the lightning strikes, the outside of the car will get charged, but inside the charge will be 0, and the person sitting inside will remain safe. They are not at danger at all. Okay, so this question has come in a time, why it is safer to be inside a car rather than outside during day of thunder and lightning. The answer is just that inside the car the charge is equal to 0, and this thing is called as Faraday cage. This has got a special name called Faraday cage. Certain things need to be preserved. Certain things need to be preserved from external electric field. So the best option is you keep it in a Faraday cage. What is a Faraday cage? Faraday cage. F-A-R-A-D-A-Y. Faraday cage. Faraday cage means you keep it inside a hollow spherical shell, or any hollow shell will do. Any hollow thing will do. Hollow box, hollow metallic box, or hollow non-conducting, conducting, any box will do. And if you keep it inside it, that thing will not be affected by external by any electric field, because inside charge is 0, there is no electric field, please safe. Okay, that's all for today. We'll be doing numericals based on Gauss theorem in the next class. Okay, thank you. Have a nice time.